What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given, and today we're looking at Sir Galahad, which is a hero that we don't often take too close of a look at. And on Sir Galahad, I really like dwarves. There's a lot of different things that you can make work on this hero, but I'm definitely rewarded here for going into dwarves as we already are able to find our first treasure on turn, well, I guess on turn 3 is when we'll actually pick it up. So we'll go for the shrink drink here, and then I will pick up one of the bossies. Could pick up the happy little tree here as well, so that way you get the scaling started. I think that that would be reasonable as well, but I just want to play a pair of 3/3s. I think that that is pretty reasonable. I do want to say that in that first shop, I did consider going Black Cat, locking onto the Witch's Brew, because then Black Cat is also a character that you can scale. And that's one of the interesting things with Sir Galahad is you do want to make some treasures, but you also want to focus on characters that are able to scale. I think this is a trick with Sir Galahad as well. We're going to watch it very carefully when it hatches in 3 turns, this locked chest. But I'm pretty sure you'll get that +1/+1 when you pick up the locked chest or when you find those treasures from the lock chest, and then again in 3 turns when that lock chest opens up, you're finding treasures, and that is again going to give your whole team +1/+1. Now, let's talk about why I actually like dwarves on Sir Galahad. By the way, kind of going through this one a little bit fast because I'm a little bit low on time, but one of the reasons that I really like dwarves on Sir Galahad is doubly is a character that obviously gets more value out of the Sir Galahad bonuses than any other character, or than most other characters will say. And also, doubly is going to be a character that sticks around into your final comps. Anything else you wind up picking up, I mean, we do grab the Wizard's Familiar here. That's part of the reason that I go for that as well. That's also a character that you're going to be playing on your final boards if you do wind up playing it. And then Happy Little Tree is just another scaling character. So I definitely prioritize scaling and then also prioritize dwarves, but we are going to take a little bit of damage here. But short of that, we're looking pretty good. And this shop is pretty decent for us as well. We've got the option to wake up a sleeping princess, and we also have a lucky in the shop. And I like the white stag too. I also really like white stag with doubly, so I wound up picking up the white stag here first. Might have been a mistake. Maybe I should have just played 7 characters this turn and picked up lucky plus white stag. The earlier you pick lucky up, obviously, the better it's going to be for you, the more chances you'll have to make use of that bonus. So maybe I should have just gone for the lucky in this scenario. And I think we also wind up seeing a lot of black cats in this game, so that definitely also could have been a direction to go. But I do like, when in doubt, trying to play dwarves on Sir Galahad, just because I feel like that is a direction that you oftentimes wind up being pulled into. So that's the reason I go for it here, and we'll have to take a look. Sleeping Princess is a 9/9 currently, though we're not going to... Are we going to win the fight? No, we're not going to win the fight. So which of these characters can we actually look at? Okay, the Happy Little Tree has 2 attack, and then it goes up to 3. So picking up the treasure on a lock chest does work really well with Sir Galahad. We just confirmed it here ourselves. And yeah, that's a nice little thing that you can play into. I'm going to wind up picking up another Happy Little Tree. Maybe we do play some trees later on. Maybe we scale into that, though doubly is the thumbnail of this video, I think. So you probably know where this one is going. At the very least, I think that doubly is a good character to play. We pick up a treasure map from our locked chest. That's a pretty good value out of the locked chest. And unfortunately, we are going to have to kind of burn through the treasure map. But if we can triple up on the doubly, it's a tier 5 treasure. That can still be pretty powerful. And there's some nice treasures at tier 4 as well. So yeah, it does deny us like a tier 7 treasure later on down the line. But when you're playing dwarves, you're not necessarily looking for those tier 7 treasures. You're just looking for some strong tempo treasures and to get to that stage of the game, because we're already down to 22. We've taken some big damages so far, but I think we are going to slowly turn some things around here. Level 4, I think, is now kind of a power spike for dwarves. because there are a bunch of different dwarves that you can pick up. Greedy being one of them, that's a nice character to scale, but then there's also Fanny and Amy, so we'll be looking for those as well. Let's jump ahead. Like I said, feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of jumping ahead though. I should point out that I am going to lock this shop. It's got a Princess White, which will give us another treasure, so that's some free value, another +1/+1 to the board, and it's also got a bossy in it. And there is some interesting math on Sir Galahad. I don't think that you should force it necessarily, but it is worth noting that when you triple a tier 2 character, you've then spent 6 gold. If you skip the treasure, or if you take the treasure, a treasure could be worth 2 gold, but if you skip the treasure, you've only paid 4 gold to grab that treasure. And that treasure comes along, or to grab that triple, right? And that triple comes along with it effectively a blessing of Athena. So you're basically paying 1 gold for an upgraded character, while at the same time grabbing a free blessing of Athena on your team. And I think that that's like a good way to think about it as far as the maths go. That's why I was hanging on to and potentially considering trying to find wizards familiars, though we just don't have the room to play everything that we want to play, and that's also why I'm hanging on to this pair of happy little trees as well. But it's tough because you can't hang on to all of these pairs just to play them on the bench and then also play everything that you need to on the board and still try to work towards some triples. So that can definitely be a little bit tricky. We're going to wind up picking up the triple and grabbing ourselves a tier 5 treasure. Hand of Midas, it's important to note, does not work with Sir Galahad. You don't find a treasure. You gotta find a treasure to work with Sir Galahad. But I point that out because Hand of Midas does work with Miri, which is an important interaction to know. But yeah, we're just going to wind up taking the most stats, the most bang for our buck here. And then I'll wind up picking up another triply and another bossy. We'll add that to the board. And we do have some pretty large dwarves right now. Our frontline dwarves also get to grab a whole bunch of extra health from the Sword of Fire Knight, so that's nice. We're getting some nice stats on the greedy there, as well as both of our doublies, but we're also at 7 health. Now we're playing up against the 6th place player in the lobby right now, so we might have some potential to get out of this yet and potentially farm up some gold here. And we did hit some nice power this turn. Putting the sword onto the doublies is definitely a nice little power spike, and then we are indeed going to farm up a little bit of gold, but it's close. We're at 7 health, so we definitely have to play carefully. And now hitting level 5, we get to pick up some more nice dwarves. I did want to mention that the math about costing 4 for what is effectively a blessing of Athena is a little bit more beneficial even when you consider golden chicken. And there you just get to totally skip the treasure or sell back the character for 4. And I guess, you know what, come to think of it, if we had just tripled 3 happy little trees, it's effectively just a blessing of Athena again, because you skip the treasure, so it only costs you 4, and then you can sell off the happy little tree if you don't need it. So it really only costs you 3. It's just a blessing of Athena. And that spell isn't the best rate, right? You don't generally go out of your way to cast that spell, though I will do so here because that's basically what this hero is just trying to do, and I'm just trying to get as much stats onto the board as possible. But I do think it's worth bringing up that generally Blessing of Athena is like, I don't know, 50-50, take it or leave it. And here we're definitely going to take it and do some nice work with it as it allows us to farm up some more gold with greedy. We're like getting that cash back that we're investing into this team. That's another reason that I do like dwarves on Sir Galahad, but you do have to think about, is that worth it? But that was the point I was getting to. On golden chicken, you buy 3 golden chickens for 6, you skip the treasure, you get the +1/+1 on the board, and then you sell off the golden chickens, and it actually costs you nothing to do all that, at least gold-wise, and you grab a free blessing of Athena on it. So I did want to try to pick up some golden chickens in this game, but I just wasn't going to force it. Just, if it happens, it happens. We do have 2 Angries now, and I'm going to lock onto a Tweedle going into 5.1, but a lot of pairs here, 2 Angries, 2 Tweedles, and 2 Greedies. and ultimately pretty strong, I think. Sword of Fire and Ice works pretty well with Dwarves in general, so I'm happy enough for that pickup. I think that we have started to turn some things around to kind of stabilize at 7 health. To be honest, Sir Galahad is not a hero that I play super frequently. I don't think I've played him really at all. I mean, I probably play like 1 or 2 games with him in the past like 3 months or something. So not really a hero I'm super familiar with. That's why I had to pay close attention to that locked chest interaction. But I do think it's cool to take a look at some heroes that we otherwise aren't showing the most love on the channel. We get to take out APOC there, so that's pretty sweet. And then I'll grab another treasure. And I do like Monkey's Paw just to have the stats to stick around, but I'm also somewhat interested in Hand of Midas going into the level up of 6.0. And we can even level up right now, which is somewhat nice, mostly just to 1, start rolling for Lordy, and 2, gain 4 more health points. So that way we don't die this turn. And now we're just gonna start rolling and then hopefully lock onto a Lordy, and then we'll have an upgraded Lordy going into 6.0. So this seems like a pretty decent power spike, turnaround, etc. I think that the 11 health is also going to help us a little bit. So that just means maybe we can lose 1 fight. I don't want to, but maybe now we can lose 1 fight. But then once we pick up that Lordy, hopefully we will be able to win a bunch of fights. Horde Dragon with World Tree. Pretty scary, but our dwarves are quite large here. They are going to be firing off a bunch of ancient sarcophagus triggers, but that's actually fine when we're playing with Angry. So we can take a bunch of hits here, and we will wind up walking away with a nice little win against the first place player in the lobby. And that was before we even added Lordy to this board. So things are definitely starting to look pretty nice. I'm not sure if I pick up this doubly, but I think that I do, just because I think that's right. I pick it up, but I don't play it this turn. And then I wind up going for another Blessing of Athena, it looks like. No, okay, I'm gonna roll. Yeah, it's funny how the hero power really is just Blessing of Athena, so it does kind of make you reevaluate, like, if I'm doing all of this just for +1/+1, maybe Blessing of Athena isn't as bad as I thought it was. But like I said, this is a absolutely massive power spike this turn. Next turn, we're gonna pick up Angry, hopefully grab a Staff of the Old Toad, which will allow us to triple a little bit easier and also just find Lordies a little bit easier. That's the whole game plan there. And yeah, like I said, I think we're pretty strong for this stage of the game. We won our last combat, and that was before we even had these greedies, so now I'm feeling strong enough, or not greedies, Lordies. Now I'm feeling strong enough that I am going to play some greedy, though, and just grab some additional econ. This allows us to take out the Fallen Angel, and we walk away with just 1 extra gold for our troubles, but we're on to the top 3, and we already beat that first place Horde Dragon, so feeling good. Ambrosia, not great yet, but will be fantastic for us once we find another Lordy. We could just use it on the doubly for right now, but I'm definitely looking for a Lordy. Could go for the Hi-Ho. That's basically a Blessing of Athena, plus you get a free dwarf, so that could certainly be reasonable as well. I'm checking out everybody's win streaks there, by the way, seeing how the rest of the lobby is doing, but I'm going to keep on rolling down. We sold off one of our greedies, so unfortunately neither of these greedies will be able to complete a triple, and then I will indeed finish things off with a Hi-Ho, and not going to worry about Angry here either. Ambrosia, I forgot to bring that one up though, but that was definitely a really good tier 5 treasure. I was thinking we already got the Hand of Midas, but I knew there were still some good tier 5 treasures yet, and doubly is definitely safe in that backline for my opponent's Lightning Dragon there, and we even farm them. It's the Ghost, and their Ancient Sarcophagus hits the Greedy once more to finish things off. So a really, really fantastic combat for us. Now we get to pick up an Echo Wood. I'll throw that in the Ambrosia slot for the time being, though I am going to look to still pick up another Lordy for that slot. Again, more Hi-Hos, kind of turning around a little bit on this effect after realizing that it's basically just Galahad hero power, and who knows, maybe I'll start to value the Blessing of Athena a little bit more in some future games, but let's jump into the combat. I'm going to reorder some things a little bit here. Fanny supporting both of my big dwarves. I don't know how big this Horde Dragon might have gotten. We know that they had World Tree, and now they've gotten some time to actually pick up some real synergies, though it does look like they are still a little bit smaller than our dwarves. They do have 2 pumpkins that they could potentially use to scam us here. Looks like Medusa is going to be 1 scam, and then we'll see what is in that second pumpkin once we get this Crack-a-Lack in here. So, okay, it's really just that 1 backline Medusa, though interestingly, everything is growing the Vulture as well, because everything was also an animal, so that was kind of a cute interaction. But we still beat the Horde Dragon, not enough to take them out. So we are going to have to still play 1 more fight against them, and here we will be able to pick up another Lordy. I'm going to sell out of Greedy again, unfortunately, and then throw Lordy into the Ambrosia slot. I do think about Dreaming, though it is somewhat worth it to potentially stay Galahad. I am ultimately going to Dream. That way, I find Goldilocks. I do think Muerte's good, but I am going to go for Goldilocks here eventually. And did we freeze? No, we're back. And not off of the Goldilocks trigger, but actually just 1 more roll. After that, I find another Lordy. So pretty funny how that worked out, but this is pretty reasonable. We're going to find a... maybe it's not reasonable. It's pretty powerful, though. We're going to find a bunch of Lordies here. My opponent pigomorphs my Echo Wood, which is annoying, but I still have some really big dwarfs in this front row. So that is going to be enough to take it down slowly but surely here. Wait a minute, we actually take some damage and go down to 2 because my pig had to attack and my opponent was getting all of those bonus attacks with their ranged character. You can see we were 96% chance to win. I'm just glad we're still alive. So I'll take it, and then I will also potentially take another Echo Wood. This is looking really, really strong. I am trying to potentially play this Greedy while we're up against the Ghost, but I think that this is like one of the strongest boards that we can potentially play. Well, I do really like the doublies and the triplies. I think that we will potentially sell them off. I think that there's just a little bit more synergy with the Greedy and with the Tweedles and the Echo Wood. And then the other thing that I kind of had to figure out, and ultimately I'm just going to wind up keeping the upgraded characters, that's right. But there was a little bit of a puzzle there too, because I kind of wanted to keep the Greedy for 1 more turn while we fought up against the Ghost, and that meant that I was selling out of my Princess White, selling out of my Tweedles. I don't need another Lordy here. I also don't need another Echo Wood. We're in a really tricky spot because by taking a Lordy, we actually go down in Lordies, though I do think that it's still potentially worth it because we do grab a tier 6 treasure from this interaction. But now we're just going to throw Echo Wood into the Ambrosia slot, which is actually still a decent amount of power, but another Echo Wood, this one I think I'll have to pass on, because at that point, then I'm playing down a character, and that's just way too much for me to do. Now, we could still sell off the Greedy and pick up a doubly to triply that. That's a really good play. And then we even find another Lordy here. So I don't know what our chances are of tying up against this World Tree Horde Dragon, but if it happens, obviously we have just found so many Lordies this game. That has definitely been really, really crazy. We'll lock onto that, but this is what we're going to wind up playing for this turn. Spear, not a huge power spike, though it will power up the triplies and it will power up the Echo Woods and stuff, so kind of nice. We also pigomorph a pretty reasonable unit, and the other thing that we notice is that my opponent has combined their pumpkins. So now they only have 1 Great Pumpkin, 1 chance to really find some scam here. They did have Court Wizard, which was a pretty good interaction with the rest of the stuff they had going on, but it's not going to be enough, and we get the win with Sir Galahad. So pretty crazy stuff there. Definitely felt like we were supposed to play Dwarves, and we were rewarded for doing so, but I thought that was a fun one to look at on a character that we might not otherwise look at super often in Sir Galahad. And that is going to be it for me today, guys, so thank you very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.